Kelley, let's go to teaser time.
Yeah, we'll hit it. Teaser time, baby.
Let's do it. I will preface this whole segment. There it is. I'm letting the music play through. Look at that.
We're going right to it. It's okay.
It's a beautiful animation.
It's the second show on this network that has an animation for a teaser conversation.
There we go.
Teaser Tuesdays.
That's right.
On VSiN Primetime.
John, I have been absolutely horrendous at teasers this year.
Well, the Wong teasers have not mattered.
The Wong teasers have been disastrous so far this year. There's no way to put it other than that. But let's go to the list of our options from a traditional sense. John, I'm going to say this right off the top with the first game, the Packers and the Jets. I'm not convinced Green Bay is going to win this game, period. With the way that they have looked, the way that London teams usually kind of run out of gas midway through the third quarter in their following game. And again, we are kind of at the point where the Jets are going to be are a lot higher in the marketplace than we would have expected through 5 weeks. But the Jets have more than enough talent to win that game outright. I don't want anything to do with that in the teaser this week.
So you went down a little bit of the path that I was thinking here with Green Bay and New York, which is you're at a market low here for Green Bay, or at least you're nearing that area, right?
You're very close.
The look-ahead line for this last week was Green Bay -9. So
point and a half, yeah.
Right, yeah. So we're talking about a point. Actually, sorry, I had 9.5. So we're talking about point and a half or 2 points, depending on where you get look-ahead lines from, that where Green Bay was last week. And look-ahead lines aren't insanely tight, but it does give you an idea of where this number is going to be when we got here. So they lose outright to New York. So now you have this where you take on the other New York team. And that's where I would be tempted, because you're getting now a teasable option for Green Bay, which seems to be at a market low. And I think that is why I would I haven't eliminated the thought of using Green Bay in another teaser outside of the one that I already have, because you are, I think, by perception, and I think some of the numbers back it up, you're getting them at a little bit of a low here.
Kelley?
I'm with you. I lean more your way, Jeff. I'm staying away from this game, I think, completely. I mean, look, JVT, your point, though, that movement from the 9.5 to 7.5 is huge, though, because, yes, it is. When we're talking about teasers, you're moving it, and we're talking about the Wong teaser legs especially, going through that 7, going through the 3, hitting all those key numbers. Look, do I still think at the end of the day the Packers probably win this game? Yeah, but with the whole coming back from London thing, Jets looking a little better, I'm going to stay away from this.
Because, I'm capable of nuance. If you're going to tell me that you don't want to do it, I totally understand, right? There's nothing that I'm going to fight you on to shout you down, really, on anything. I totally get the thought process. And that's where, sometimes I think, and I've said this readily before, I think my weakness as a handicapper is I get a little too, analytical with, hey, that's what this number was, that's what this number was. Okay, cool, we're getting a discount, I'm going to go do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a strength, but other times I don't account for the fact that, Aaron Rodgers has been screaming at his teammates a lot before the snap. And,
yes.
It has not really looked fantastic for the Green Bay Packers.
No, and Rodgers dealing with that thumb as well now.
He's got 2 of them.
Yeah, I know. Breaking news: 2 thumbs for Aaron Rodgers. But the Packers, again, 7.5 would be teased down to 1.5. Tampa, 8-point favorites. There are not a lot of 8s left at this point. We're starting to see 8.5, even some 9 in the market. So they're getting close to not really being usable here now, John.
Yeah, well, I think that's why you got to jump in, right, and tease them down, because that is going to, it looks like, get to 9. And I would say, I tease the Bucs down, have them in that the teaser with the Washington Commanders when they were a 1-point underdog, and I think that's the way you want to do it. I think the Buccaneers are in a pretty good spot to tease us down. Look, the Steelers and Kenny Pickett, preseason again, it was a good story. Him and Skylar Thompson, they were fantastic against the third stringers. Not really so much when we saw him against the Bills, and I think that this is a Buccaneers defense, while not as good as Buffalo, still has capabilities of just rushing forward, dropping everybody back, and getting it in.
Yeah, even on the road, this is by far my favorite teaser leg of the week. It's not even close. The problem is actually finding, a dance partner for it. The one I settled on was the Jags, teasing them up in Indianapolis. But this is my favorite teaser leg of the week. I think that you could, if you did something like John did, and shoot, you might get an opportunity on the other side of it here tonight with the Bears if they actually close, if they close 1.5, something like that, 1.5-point dogs, you could do that same kind of thing, tease up the Bears and take a piece of the Bucs. I wouldn't mind that at play at all either. That's my favorite leg of the week for sure.
I get it. I didn't put it in my Megapod teaser, but I get it. I mean, Pittsburgh is, without TJ Watt, they are legitimately terrible.
Yeah.
And he's not playing this week yet again for the Steelers, dealing with multiple injuries now for Watt. We'll put the Ohio teams together here. They're not teasable sides in these games, but New Orleans is a 2 or a 1.5 point underdog, hosting Cincinnati up to either 7.5 or 8, and then the Patriots from 2.5 up to 8.5, John.
Yeah, so I think if the other tempting leg, Kelley, was New Orleans. Because I think when you're looking at the Bengals, like, I'm sorry, but like from a rating standpoint, I'm just not sure where we're at here with Cincinnati. I think the perception is this is still like an explosive and really good offense. When even last year, if you actually looked at some of the numbers, they're good, top 10, really not explosive though, just explosive in really clutch situations. And then you look at them this year on the fringes of the top 10 of EPA right now offensively. I think they're 11th or 12th at my last look. That's kind of my thing. Is I think from a rating standpoint, we're still at this point where the Bengals might be a little overvalued. And like I think the Saints, like the difference between them, if you're rating home field at like 1.5, which is what a lot of people did last year, and what we're kind of at this point right now, you're going to tell me this team's, 3.5 to maybe even 4 points better than the Saints on a neutral? I just don't really buy that. I think the Saints are kind of undervalued coming into this. So if you're getting me to tease this up, which by the way, the market's moving in that direction. There's a lot of 1.5s out there. You still get that up to 8. I think the Saints are a very viable teaser option.
Yeah, it's funny because these ones, I guess these two I'm not even considering. I'm actually opposite side there, JVT. I bet on the opener, I bet the Bengals money line. It was like minus 115 because it opened about, Saints won pretty much everywhere, or Bengals won is what it opened pretty much everywhere. So I actually went and just bet them on the money line there. I think they've been playing better in recent weeks. So that's where I'm kind of interested on this team, hopefully catching them on their way back up. You're right, though. I think if you look at some of the early season stuff by them, not really as impressive. And then the Browns, I laid the 2.5 against the Patriots coming into town there, too. I think there's, the quarterback questions going on with the Patriots right now. Now, I think they're going to be able to run the ball on the Browns, but I think they're still just a little bit more talented team right now over there in Cleveland.
I don't think New England's any good. I think last week had to do more with Detroit than it had to do with the Patriots.
Completely agree.
Oh, yeah. So I'm not buying them. I understand. Cincinnati winning by a touchdown makes a lot of sense to me. So I get that, even though I'm on the same side as Kelley. Gave the Bengals out on the Megapod today, and probably will end up just money lining that instead of laying the points, because still only minus 125 on Cincinnati. The other options, the three remaining options here. Kelley, you mentioned Jacksonville up to 8. You could even get some 8.5 now at select books on the teaser against Indianapolis. And then, of course, the two late games, both to 8.5. Seattle at home against Arizona from 2.5 to 8.5. And, John, the Chiefs, again, first time in the Patrick Mahomes era, a home underdog from 2.5 to 8.5 on a teaser.
So I think the last two legs, it would be really tempting to look at both of the underdogs and tease them up there. I think the problem is, and we talk about these teasers all the time, one of the other things we don't really discuss a bunch is what's the total of that game. Right. Those are two teams or two games that have totals of 51 and 54 respectively, and there's a lot of volatility there. Having said that, I think if you're going to tease one of them, I think it would be a Seattle team that is clearly shown to be a little bit better than the market gives them credit for, has looked really solid offensively, and Geno Smith now gets to take on one of the worst secondaries in terms of coverage in the National Football League, and he gets to do it in a friendly environment at home. And I'll say this, Kelley, I want your thoughts, because you said you used the Jags. Yeah. How do you feel about teasing those legs? Because I'm going to venture a guess that if we get positive injury news for Indianapolis, they might go off as a field goal favorite.
Yeah, no, they might. I mean, look, I actually, I teased them on the opener with the Bucs, thinking I was getting in front of the Bucs number moving, so I got it at 7.5, able to tease it down to 1.5. Again, kind of forced to find a dance partner for it, right? But I like the Jags. DVOA, looking at them, right? 7th overall team, DVOA. Colts kind of at
Trevor
the bottom
Lawrence isn't going to commit 7 turnovers in 2 games either again. I would think.
Yeah. But the idea I like. So right now you get 2.5 on the Jags. You're right. Might close at 3, probably will. So you get a much better number than what I got there. If it was just +3. I don't know that I'd be betting that Jags side. Yes, it is crucial for me to get through and get through that 3, get through that 7. I think it's crazy, guys. We're talking about already just Mahomes being a dog. The fact that you could, you can get Patrick Mahomes plus 8.5 points right now, and I haven't heard a single person interested in doing that, including myself. Okay, we got one.
I got one. Absolutely. Again, that is a principal one for me. where
I'm okay
Well, it's the
with
same
that.
thing what we were talking about earlier, right? If you're going to lose, I'd rather lose on a teaser leg with Patrick Mahomes plus 8.5.
Look, Buffalo, if you're good enough to win by double digits again in the regular season in Kansas City, I'll tip my hat and move to the next bet. No problem whatsoever with that. On that. By the way, Kelley, we mentioned, I know you and Gil mentioned this morning on a numbers game with the Jaguars. John, I don't know if you know this. The Jaguars have lost 37 consecutive games when the opponent has scored 21 or more points.
Okay, really? I did not know that.
Your random NFL stat.
37.
How about, were you aware, John, because you might be the only guy, were you aware that your Colts team hadn't allowed a fourth quarter point scored so far?
Hell yeah,
baby. I caught that tweet last night.
That's wild, too.
2-2-1.
Look at that. That's incredible.
The 1930, what was going on in 1934?
Yeah, some great defense was going on.
Wow. Yeah, it totally wasn't the offenses, that's for sure.
Visit VSiN.com to get current odds, listen for free, find showtimes, and download VSiN sports betting podcasts.